Hey, y'all, welcome back to Marks of a Man podcast channel, a production of Men Build Men Incorporated. We're here in Cartersville, Georgia, in the studio, and we have with us our friend Brandon Watson. Welcome, Brandon.
Hello, hello. Good morning.
We're going to be covering his life story, but I also want to sort of communicate on the outset that he lives permanently in Gilitla, Mexico.
hmm
He's got a hacienda down there. He's a coffee farmer, and he's also a Christian missionary to the people of Mexico. But I want to just on the outset say that I'd like to encourage you to drink some coffee. Brandon, you want to tell the guys a little bit and the listeners where they can find the coffee product
hmm
and where they can buy the beans and give it to them, man.
Sure. Well, we have a coffee farm on a 16-acre plot of land. It's kind of like a ministry base, and we grow. I'm not for sure how many pounds a year, but we got quite a bit that we sell in Mexico directly to pastors to help them, supplement their the money they make. And we also bring coffee up here to the United States to sell it. And the easiest way to get it is to go to hopeministriesintl.com, the
Okay.
website there, and it should be pretty easy to find, and we can ship it pretty much anywhere in the United States.
Yeah, cool. Let's give that call it out a little bit slower. Hope Ministries
hmm
INT
Yeah, hopeministriesintl.com.
L.
Yeah,
Just a single L.
right. Hope
Okay.
Ministries International, but short for international,
Gotcha.
INTL.
Yeah, hopefully we'll spell that out in the section of the comments or the captions below. I've actually consumed quite a bit of the coffee. I'm actually out. I actually haven't. I think my wife has placed a new order.
Oh, good.
When I went down and visited Brandon with another buddy of ours, Nate, I came back and what's that machine that the $700 or $800 machine?
The Breville.
Yeah, the Breville. And now I'm not a barista, but I do enjoy. And subsequently,
Yeah.
our children, man, it's an active process in our kitchen now.
Right.
So I thank you for that introduction. Hope Ministries. Just briefly before we get into your life story, I just want to start the conversation by saying, what do y'all currently do in Gilitla, Mexico? Do you want to just briefly describe to the listeners what encompasses your work down there?
Sure. The foundation would be around 30 different, we call them works, but inside of that are fully developed churches, missions, house churches, whatnot that we oversee and try to grow. Out of that, we gather up workers that are the Mexican nationals, and we train them and place them in different places where they evangelize and hopefully are able to plant churches as well. So our main goal, main job is to plant churches in places that do not have the gospel.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. And on top of that, we've had a children's department or children's ministry develop over the years, where we now have a Christian school that just started up last year, and that's going really well. And my daughter kind of heads that up, so she started different children's ministries in different churches, which is a totally new concept in a lot of these places.
Yeah.
So now the kids are getting, they're understanding the gospel at a very young age and the terms, and it's a lot easier to disciple them once they get older. And then we have a halfway house on the ranch, probably, 500 feet from where we live, where people come out of once they get out of drug addiction programs. Some come that are, they're addicted, but not as bad as somebody else. We kind of interview them when they get there. And if it's somebody that's really, really addicted to something, we'll send them to somebody that can handle it. If they're, somebody that just needs a little help, they can live there on the ranch where we disciple them and train them, and they go to church with us about every day. So it kind of all fits in. It fits in that. It fits in the ministry, the church planning. So we're hoping when they come out of the 3-month program, the halfway house program, that if they're interested in ministry, we can put them on that path to go into full-time ministry. And other than that, we have radio ministry. We're broadcasting on 2 different stations right now that cover 5 different states. So that's another thing that we're doing. So it's pretty much however we can get the
Yep.
word out.
What are the links that you on YouTube and so forth? How can some of the listeners subscribe or find the information that you're producing?
I think our channel. I might have to edit this part because I don't remember.
We'll find it and put it in.
Iglesia Esperanza TV.
Okay.
I Thanks.
And when you said you're broadcasting to 5 states, those are Mexican states,
yes,
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so here's the other thing, viewers and listeners. Brandon's not going to say this. He's getting after it, and a lot of his work is self-funded. So if you felt inclined to want to be supportive, we're going to get into why he's doing what he's doing based upon his life story and biography. But I happen to know Brandon personally, and that if you want to make some donations, he and his family are getting after it. It's self-funded. So they're trying to promote and sell coffee to self-sustain their family as well as these individuals that they're actually trying to support. And Brandon, one of the strategies that you mentioned is you are trying to plant churches, but the distinction is you're trying to raise up national dudes, pastors that would then pastor these smaller congregations, correct?
Correct.
And that's a foreign or a different or an unaware concept to these people that you're trying to train.
Right. And they, at the end of the day, a national is going to do the job a lot better than I would. They know the culture, they know the language. The one thing that they might lack is the Bible training. So that's where we come in and train them up however we can. It's very specific, case specific. Not everybody's the same, and the background, I guess, the context of what we're talking about. I mean, these people live out in the middle of nowhere, so a lot of we're not talking about cities, talking about very rural areas where, in many cases, some can't even read. So we step in and try to train them however we can. If it's to teach them how to read, we teach them how to read so they can learn how to study, learn how to preach. And we just kind of fill in the gaps there to train them to be a missionary, basically. And then we get behind them financially if they've been with us so long and we've vetted them and we know they can handle some kind of support. We try to financially support them on a monthly basis.
That's good. Yeah. And so the other call to action a little bit is, one, I was encouraged to basically make the viewers and subscribers, if you want to subscribe to the Marks of a Man channel or like it, it's important. I was told that I need to promote that, so I need to promote it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and so forth. But in all seriousness, we're going to be returning to Mexico to support Brandon and his family and the operations that are there. And part of us returning from the States is to bring additional training. And we were talking before we began rolling that we're going to return and bring some hard skill training, welding, carpentry, dirt bike and single engine, small engine, maintenance, and familiarity. So if you're a listener and you want and feel led to participate, you can reach out to me. We can, become familiar with your skills, and then we can talk about it. Because actually, we're currently in the studio because they're taking a reprieve from the current situation that's going on. So they're on temporary furlough here in the States, and they're networking and trying to raise some support and tell other people about what they're doing, which is why we're here. So I think that sort of covers a little bit about what currently is going on.
Right.
Let's step back for a sec, bro, and let's hear a little bit about your life story and what sort of marked your life and what moved you into full-time professional Bible-believing missionary work.
Right.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
So let's take it like, where were you born?
Decatur, Alabama.
Yeah. And what was it like for you when were your parents intact? You had brothers and sisters in Decatur? So what, like 1976? Like
74.
74. All right, dude.
Right.
So bring us up to speed. When you were a boy, what's it like?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, being raised in Decatur, Alabama, my family really pushed me hard in sports. My dad, very, very hard worker, grew up really, really poor, and he became a machine shop guy. I don't know what you call it.
Machinist.
Yeah, machinist. So he started in a chicken house, grew it, and ended up having one of the bigger places in Decatur, Alabama. So all the stuff that he had or he didn't have while he was a kid, he gave me, which is good and bad. The thing he didn't give me that I wish he would have given me would, the value of hard work, which came later in life. He pushed me in sports though. Yeah. So even though, he wasn't pushing hard on me to work, he would always say, you're going to get a job or you're going to play sports like as a job. So he pushed us extremely hard in sports, baseball, most of my life. And from there, we got a scholarship to Alabama, went to school at Alabama, played baseball there.
All right, slow it down for a sec. Let's hold off before there. Like, what was it like for you growing up? Your dad said hard workers, machinists,
Yeah.
lot of happened there. What were your memorable years like as a teenage dude? Like, were you in trouble? Were you making bad decisions, bro? Like, what were you into as a teenage boy?
I mean, not terribly bad decisions, just kind of a normal
Yeah.
teenager, rebellious, and
Yeah.
did not
Back
go.
talk your mother and
Oh
get
yeah,
spanked a lot?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Get the thunder. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, got 3 brothers.
Are they older or younger?
Got 1 older and 2 younger brothers.
So what was that like growing up with 3 brothers in the midst of a household? Were they
Oh,
also
it
in
was
baseball and
crazy.
sports?
It was crazy. All of us were, and I mean, they had no sisters, so it was just all boys. So it was a pretty rough environment growing up. A lot of fighting and stuff like that. But
Like $1,000 a month food bill or something?
yeah, a lot of that. So
Did y'all live on a farm around the chicken houses or
No, we were. It's funny because that was the way my dad was raised, and then when he got into the machinist career and started making some money, he built a house, but the house was pretty big. But we had 1 cow, 10 chickens, goats. They called us the Beverly Hillbillies. So he had this house that he had built, and we had all these animals. So it was almost like you grew up on a farm.
yeah?
Yeah.
Did you have any associated chores, or how did those animals? How were they taken care of? Is that something you guys had to do and participate in?
we helped out a little bit with that, but it wasn't pushed on us too bad.
Yeah.
I had a peach farm as well, so
really?
we did some working in that and selling peaches and stuff like that.
How big was the orchard? I didn't
About
know that.
300 trees. Wasn't too
Really?
bad. Yeah.
Pruning, spraying. What was that like?
Yeah, all that. We did a lot of pruning. Had to spray them. I can't remember how many times a year we did that, but then we had to go pick them and take them down to the farmer's market and sell there. So that was
Is that, I know we're sort of going to, the next question is going to jump ahead. Is that part of why you feel more comfortable to, in your current hacienda and growing things? Is that something that's, you feel
Yeah.
comfortable?
Oh yeah, like my childhood and the way I was raised, and in the ministry, we're sometimes riding motorcycles and fixing stuff, and that was something we were doing growing up. So it wasn't something totally out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it's sort of what I was trying to draw the parallel. It's sort of interesting how some of your unknown preparation
Yeah,
had sort of prepared you for what was to
right.
come, you know? All right, so you're in Decatur, you're into sports, you got 3 brothers, it's madness, a lot of fighting.
Yeah,
You get whooped a lot, back talking your mother, making wrong decisions.
yeah.
A bit rebellious. Like, did you care about school at all, bro?
Not really. No.
It's like do whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah. Hey, could you give me a rag? I'm like sweating like crazy.
Yeah.
I got this sweatshirt on,
Yeah. The
or like a
a towel.
towel or something.
Hey,
or
just get a
rag.
t-shirt out of there. The all right, so
Mm-hmm.
so high school, you were pretty good in baseball.
Decent. I was probably average athletically, but my dad's work ethic, he kind of pushed that on me in baseball. So
Yeah.
he actually had built us a little indoor facility in the backyard, and I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't understand what was coming. We lived in that thing, so we every single day was in there hitting and taking ground balls and training and all kinds of stuff, and it was an everyday thing till I got sick of it, and he continued to push me and instill in me that you can be as good as you want to be as long as you work hard enough. So
And is that something that like you and your brothers, or was actually your dad a part of it in there with you, getting after and helping you, feeding you ground balls and so forth?
oh yeah, no, Dad was right in the middle of it.
He was.
Yes, absolutely, because he had always wanted to be a baseball player growing up, but he didn't have time. He worked from little bitty, he picked cotton, and
Yeah.
then later on, he got the machine shop running and stuff like that, and he just never had time to do it. And I think, if I remember correctly, he had a neighbor that actually played professional baseball that they looked up to. So he always, that was kind of one of his heroes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why he pushed us so hard.
Tell me, look, I had no idea when you were changing your T-shirt. I talked to your sons and like, dude, I had no idea that your dad was a peach farmer. you learned something new. Like, what else is there in your childhood that you've never disclosed to your sons and or some of your friends? Like,
Yeah.
what happened? I mean, I'm sure
It's a hodgepodge of different things just because of the way I was raised and stuff, and my dad's background, and he would really strive to put certain things in us, and that was one of them. Was he loved to grow things, so definitely remember going out and helping him plant stuff and with the peaches and stuff. He would really, he'd be like, whatever you sell, you can keep. So, of course, I was, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
So we were out there picking and selling and
Yeah.
learning all kinds of stuff. And it later translated to, missions and being around different things like that. But it was a special time growing up for sure.
Yeah. I think, something sort of Marks of a Man podcast try to continue to highlight sometimes what what we observe about other men and what marks them manly and masculine and so forth. One thing that sort of I was listening as you were talking about your father and I asked you was he was in the middle of it. He was pushing you and your boys, your brothers to be well baseball players, but he was in the midst feeding you balls. That's a little bit different in terms of just somebody who's pushing you externally, right? Or just paying for you there or demanding that you do there. Do you want to talk just briefly sort of what your experience was when you did have a dad who was pushing but was in the midst of your process with you? What was that like, man?
Well, I mean, even though he didn't know a lot about baseball, he would he would be out there. It was one of those things where he worked a lot, and this was one of the few ways he could spend time with us. So now I understand that, and in those days I didn't. I just thought my old man was pushing me hard and things like that. But now looking back on it, I understand probably the overwhelming motivation behind it was he's spending time with us and him being in there, even though he didn't understand what he was doing. He was definitely my biggest coach and was pushing me on different things. And he would catch me. I pitched a little bit high school and into college, and he would tie these pillows around his legs and catch me until we started throwing, upper 80s. He would sit on a bucket and catch me. And, I, at the time didn't appreciate it like I do now. And knowing the hours he worked and he still made that effort to be a part of that part of my life and spend that time with me, it's just, it impresses me to this day. So
that's why I was trying to draw out a little bit is sort of, we were talking off the record before we began recording a little bit about there's a what appears to us a widening gap of hard skills, skills that are implemented and so forth. And I also think there's a widening gap of being intentional of how you actually participate in some of your children's activities.
Right.
And I don't mean to like get us sidetracked here about youth sports and culture and so forth, but it appears to me that there's less and less parents that actually grind with their children in the midst of their athletics.
Right.
Like, and I think that's something that's very distinct. And I'm sort of trying to affirm, I didn't, meet your dad or know your dad, but I would have liked to interacted with him and asked him why he made that concerted effort, why it was important for him to participate with you. And then, like you said, to spend time with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that was definitely the motivation behind what he was doing, even though I couldn't see it at that time. And he would get in there, and this guy, he worked. He was a machine. I mean, he just every single day worked and worked and worked, and it didn't matter how tired he was. He always wanted to do that, and it was amazing time for me looking back on it now. Especially, it's impressive once you get to 50 years old and you realize how your energy starts to go down a little bit, and him doing all that was just it's pretty impressive.
Right on. All right, so you're doing that in high school, and then you made a comment that you got a scholarship to go to the University of Alabama to play baseball. What was that connection and part of like the recruiting process? Was that a good experience for you?
Yeah.
Did they come find you? Did you find them? Tell us a little bit about your process.
Well, it was I forget the year right, 1994. I actually played junior college at Calhoun Community College in Decatur, Alabama, for 2 years, and this was when Alabama had just changed coaches. Jim Wells took over, and I was being recruited by the previous coach, and I played at Hartselle High School. Just an amazing baseball program, amazing coach, William Booth, and he had reached out to the University of Alabama on my behalf and had them come and recruit us, me and this other guy in the area. And So the recruiting process was really cool. After 2 years of junior college, they had heard about me and started coming and watching some of the games. And then the previous coach got fired. Jim Wells took over. Almost got lost in the shuffle there.
Yeah, let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. I'm listening. You were playing ball at a junior college for 2 years,
Yeah.
but it was still your high school coach
Yeah.
that continued to lobby on your behalf
Absolutely.
and promote you as a
Yes.
junior college player to
Yeah,
Alabama.
he was outside of my dad. He would be one of those first mentors that the definition of a mentor, a guy that cared about the direction of my life, and never forget him. He was the winningest athletics coach in the history of Alabama. So he since has passed away, but that looking back on it now, I really am thankful about God putting certain mentors in my path, and he was definitely one that changed the trajectory of everything that was going on in my life. Because after 2 years of junior college, I wasn't for sure what I was going to do. I was pretty good, but I didn't. D1's a different level.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the reason I'm interrupting you to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about it again, just making another effort. Marks of a Man podcast, talking about what marks a man, like that kind of selfless behavior by a coach. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's nothing. He has nothing to benefit. Maybe he does. Maybe his pride or whatever. But like to continue to try to promote you,
Right.
to help you, to assist you, to speak to others on your behalf. That type of behavior, in my opinion, is manly, masculine, the right behavior, godly
Right.
behavior of emptying yourself so you can benefit. All right, so the Coach Booth, is that his name?
William Booth. Yep.
William Booth was pitching you to Alabama.
Mhm.
Coach James, Jim Wells, you almost get lost in the
Yeah.
transition. Pick the story back up about almost getting lost.
Coach Booth had called several times, and Coach Wells sent Mitch Gaspard and Todd Butler to the area to watch me play, and just thank you God had a good game that day, and offered me on the spot. But
Were they both in attendance?
yeah,
And the day that they were both in attendance, what were you, a position player? Were you catching? Were you pitching? What were you doing
I
that game?
was second base and pitching.
Gotcha.
But that day, I don't think the pitching got their attention. It was more the hitting.
Okay.
So
Yeah, describe the game. Let me tell you had a good game. What happened?
yeah, it was Oppo bomb.
Yeah, right on, dude. One?
Yeah.
All right.
I had a really good game that day, hitting wise, and they came to the house after the game, sat down, talked to me and my parents, and they're new to the area, so they're getting to know all the high schools, and I was helping them getting to know some of the local players, and we actually brought a few players over. This is the same indoor facility my dad bought.
Gotcha.
Or
Yeah,
made in
built
our
or what-
backyard.
yeah.
So we're in the backyard just hitting it and going at it with these coaches there, and
After the game?
after the game.
So
Yeah.
Mitch and Todd are like they've sort of encouraged you to call
Yeah.
some other
Yeah.
prospects. So they're working you at the same time,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, because they want to win fast, and they're trying to get the contacts and stuff of the North Alabama.
So they put you
players.
through an additional tryout after the
Yeah,
game itself?
yeah.
What was that like? What you had to hit off the tee, live?
Hitting mainly off a machine and stuff, and just getting to know them and sit down and talk with them. And then I had a friend of mine that I called, and I said, "Dude, get over here," because I knew he threw 90 to 95 miles an hour. Hadn't been picked up yet, and he came over and tried out for him too.
Did you call him on a cell phone? Did you call him on a rotary phone, bro?
on a rotary, the
Yeah.
cord phone.
Yeah, the cord phone. Dial it, spin it back. You know?
Yeah.
So when they offered you, was that after the tryout or was that before the tryout?
It was before. It was a partial scholarship that they were trying to get to fill out their roster, and I was heading that way anyway. That's where I
Gotcha.
wanted to play.
You wanted to go to Alabama?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Were you living at the house when you were a junior college
Yes.
player?
Yeah, it was really close by, like a 20-minute drive.
I got you. Okay. And so they offered you on the spot. What was that in the spring, I guess, right? So then they're like, hey, man, come to Alabama in the fall of what?
Mm-hmm.
What year did you enter to the University of Alabama?
I think it was 96.
Okay.
Yeah, 95, 96.
So keep walking us through. What was that like when you came on campus?
It's crazy. I remember the first players meeting and how big everybody was. And I thought I'd walked into the wrong room, and everybody there was just huge.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, there's no way I am going to make this. I am going to get cut. But that first year was insane because you have a brand new coach coming in. He's changing everything. He is literally shaking the tree, and there's people quitting just about every single week. And I'm holding on for dear life, just trying to make it another day. And it's just some outstanding players that I had the opportunity to be around and see. So there's a lot of growing up going on in that. And, Jim Wells being another mentor figure that wasn't afraid to tell you the truth about yourself. He didn't pull no punches. And that was a lot. I did a lot of maturing and growing during that time as well.
So you would have been an incoming junior. You were class junior.
Yeah.
And so were you living on campus or off campus, or what was sort of like your living situation moving to Alabama?
Lived in Northport.
I got you.
Little house out there.
So a little off campus housing.
Yeah, me and a couple other players.
All right. And so that first fall, adjusting, probably didn't care much about schooling at that point either,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
You were there to play ball.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sort of keep walking the listeners through as a college baseball player coming to the University of Alabama, the fall of '96. What was it like to try to take that work ethic and grinding mentality that your father had tried to instill upon you and introduce it to try to compete with all these big, physical, capable athletes?
Right. At that point, it'd been instilled in me how to work, but I think due to my immaturity, I was doing a lot of it because my dad was pushing me. So I had to make the adjustment of doing it on my own now. And coming in, to a program like that, you saw that everybody there was working. So, that the way that he had taught me and pushed on me, I had to make the transition to doing it because I wanted to do it. So that was the biggest transition. And I remember days. I mean, you were there. You remember these practices, and I remember thinking, today I'm quitting. Today I'm done. I can't do this no more. This is absolutely insane. What we were going through with the weightlifting and the circuit training and the I don't know how long those practices were, but I remember calling home and I was going to let my parents know that I was going to quit. And when I called, nobody was there. And so went to practice that day, had a good practice, and had pretty much changed my mind. I remember thinking, man, I must, I almost made a very important decision based on emotion and it was just one of those moments that taught me to push through, even though it looked like, I'm done, I'm going to quit. Well, they wasn't there. They didn't pick up the phone. So I went, had practice and learned how to kind of persevere through that. So that was a very important lesson that was going on during that time.
Like it may be applicable to talk about baseball, but I want to try to sort of draw like an analogy or something. You're trying to work hard and you're trying to compete for a winning position, but you're having you're with a bunch of buddies. Yeah. You enjoy your teammates. Everyone's grinding. Like, talk a little bit about how difficult it was to try to be friends with a teammate that you're trying to outcompete, that you're trying to outwin. Yeah. A little bit about that sort of an environment for you as a player. How do you get through that?
Man, especially the first year, you're kind of given the rookie treatment, especially by the guys that are older and all that. So there's a little bit of hazing going on in there, but that the first year especially was probably the hardest year for me. And then the second year, you really started forming relationships with guys, and you're in the same grind as they were. And one of those, another just a thing that I learned through all that. I mean, when you're coming out of high school and you're going into D1 or whatever, I mean, you're always one of the best on your team. Well, now all of a sudden you wasn't. And humility, I think, was a big thing that I learned by being around those guys and just amazing, amazing players, and knowing, at the end of the day, I'm here. This is probably the end of my career. I want to do the best I can. And really coming to grips with who you are as a player, being self-aware, and just taking advantage of being there and having those relationships and everything. But it was a really, really special time for me. But I learned a lot of humility through that whole deal.
Yeah, that's something as you were talking, I was thinking to myself,
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of athletes and a lot of baseball players have a dream of making it to college,
Yeah.
perhaps completing their dream of being a professional baseball player. And then what you just transparently shared is like you get to the college
Yeah.
and everybody's good.
Right.
And you're sort of begin like, okay, how good am I?
Yeah.
And you begin to say, maybe I'm not good enough to take the starting position, and maybe
Right.
I'm not good enough to make a go of this. However, you still need to continue to grind, believe in
Yeah.
yourself, and keep working and give your best effort. Because in that situation, my observation was a lot of people were giving their best.
Yeah.
And you saw an environment where the effort of all of the teammates
Mhm.
truly it's I do reflect on this quite a bit. It continued, you saw the increase of the performance continued to rise incrementally, and
Right.
everybody just kept giving more and kept giving more and kept
Mhm.
giving more. Do you remember a little bit, Brandon, like how as a baseball player you were having to try to figure out how to give more and get more as it
Yeah.
was increasing?
Yeah. I mean, and it started with the coach. I remember Coach Wells getting there, and in Alabama, I didn't know a whole lot about the history of the baseball program, but it's a football school, so the College World Series is just it's a dream. But from day one, he was we're going to Omaha, and he instilled this mentality in every player. Even if you didn't play, you wanted to get it to a level. If you got a chance to go in and you had a chance to play, you wanted to do it in a way that was reflective of the starters. So I mean, we had some great players, second stringers that could have probably played anywhere, and it was just the overall mentality and the attitude of the team was. I mean, it was up here, and you played to it whether you were playing or not.
Yeah, that's something that we're going to sort of keep moving through the Alabama story because I want to
Yeah.
get to sort of your life story. But I have had some conversations on subsequent podcasts, and I'd like to talk to Todd and Mitch about
Hmm.
how they selected
Yeah.
talent and what they saw in talent. Because what you just referenced is there was this group of individuals that were extremely talented
Yeah.
that someone had selected and observed
Right.
what could become. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough
Right.
about how a coach or an individual sees what the player or a child is potential,
Hmm.
what they're capable of, right?
Right.
Obviously, Coach Booth believed in you and saw your abilities and what he thought you could become, which is why he lobbied on your behalf. I think primarily Mitch and Todd,
Yeah.
they were some really good selectors of talent.
Oh,
And then,
absolutely.
more importantly, the plan of actually how to get it out of them,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
How to squeeze the juice
Yeah.
as much as you possibly could
Absolutely.
to fill it up. All right,
Absolutely.
so 96, you're coming in. 90, the spring of 96, the team was somewhat successful.
Hmm.
Keep walking us through the fall of 97. You're now a senior. You probably don't care about school.
Well, the first year I was redshirted.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had to be redshirted on kind of some of the credits from the junior college didn't transfer over, which was at the time fine by me just because I was younger. I was on the
Yeah.
younger side, but so I was still participating in the practices and being around the program, but it's actually redshirted. So I'd have been my junior year was the first year that we went to the World Series. So yeah, that first year was basically just trying to stay, and not get ran off because I'm not sure how many players were there at the very beginning, but I'm kid you not, it was every day somebody was packing up their stuff and leaving, and it was evident that he was bringing in a different mentality than was there before, and I just remember that first year just trying to make it, and then that second year it was different. He had brought in more players and the program was already established, and it was like it wasn't if you were going to the World Series. You knew you were
Well,
going.
you went.
Yeah, you were going.
In 96, the team went.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the second year,
yeah,
it was like we're returning.
yeah. So it'd been my junior and senior year. We went both of those years, And I think my red shirt year was when they went to the regional. Maybe they missed out on it by one game or something. I can't remember, but
No, 96 we went.
okay. Well, I was on that one.
Yeah,
I was on that
96 we
one.
went, 97 we went.
That's right.
And then
That's
98
right.
we were 1 out away from going to the third time in a row
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we lost
yeah.
to Stanford.
Yeah.
All right, but so 97 you come back.
Yeah.
Do you remember the season of 97? Sort of what was your experience? What was happening with Brandon in 1997?
Yeah, Brandon just didn't want to get cut.
Okay.
So I knew there was a ton of talent coming back on that team. There was a lot of confidence. And by then, of course, I'd gotten the routine of the practices and stuff like that. But I also knew this is my final year. So I definitely wanted to play as much as possible and work to do that. But understanding, also there's some good players on this team. And so it was just really an honor to be on that team. But, you wanted to do your best and actually get on the field and participate and contribute to what the team was doing.
So during that period of time, you're competing as a baseball player. You're living off campus. In your personal life,
Mm-hmm.
in your personal life, were things going well? Were they not going well? Like when it's appropriate and how you want to say it. Like begin to tell the listener and viewer, like, were you squared away? Did you have any belief in God? Did you attend church? Like where were you at personally? And I'm trying to sort of move the conversation like, oh, you're now a Christian missionary when you're 50, right?
Yeah.
Something happened in your life.
Oh, absolutely. 97. I think 97 is when I really started drinking a lot more. I wouldn't say I was at the bottom of the barrel by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I'm about to graduate college. We were on, one of the top baseball teams in the country. Had great relationships, great friends. So on that level, things were going good. But spiritually, I never was really raised in church. And I had a brother that was witnessing to me along the way, but I'm like, I don't need God. I'm doing well.
Yep.
I'm doing good.
Yep.
But that year, I do remember drinking more than I ever had, and was getting to a level where it was just unhealthy. So,
do you remember why you were choosing alcohol? Was that just sort of recreational, or was that okay?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have time to do it any other way because that was one of the things. Baseball, sports, really kept me as straight as I could be at that time. It was, I guess, it was the, I don't know what you would call it. It would be my accountability, I guess, because you're getting tested all the time, and there was an understanding. Yeah, you can party, but not too much. It just starts affecting your performance and stuff like that. So I stayed within those guardrails, but at the same time, doing a lot of binge drinking on the weekends.
And sort of keep walking us through. I know the story, but I'm trying to get the listeners to understand it. Like what was the thing that began to change in your personal life that initiated some change?
Well, it was when baseball ended. That was such a massive part of my life. When it ended, I had to start thinking about the future. And of course, you're taught from a kid what a good life looks like. So I wanted to graduate college, wanted to get married, wanted to get a job. That was kind of my idea in my mind of what I wanted to do. When baseball was removed, it left this big void, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
And it also took away the only accountability that I had. So that's when I really started going off the rails on some things and drinking more, and really just, I was in a point in my life where I knew if I kept going down this road, I'm gonna fail, in a lot of different ways. And because of the baseball, even though that's not missions, and in one sense it kind of is, because we were taught some really good things, especially by Coach Wells, and that was another mentor in my life that wasn't afraid to tell you what he felt, and and would give you advice from time to time. So after baseball was done and that void was there, and I tried to fill it with different things, and I knew something, this is not right. Of course, I didn't understand what was going on. It was the Holy Spirit starting to draw me. I had a brother that was praying for me, witnessing to me. My mother was also praying for me. They had been recently saved, and that's what, when God started drawing me. At the time, I didn't know it was God. I was thinking, only thing I was thinking, I need to be a better person. I need to be a better man, and tried to be and could not, and failed time after time after time. And I think it was Thanksgiving, 1997. Went home on Thanksgiving break, and my brother spoke to me about Jesus, and I'm thinking, I don't need religion. I know religious people, and they drink like I do. They do what I do.
Yeah.
I want to change. I want to be transformed. And I'd always heard that could happen, but it was very rare to see it. So he's telling me about God and a relationship with Jesus, not religion, but a real relationship with Jesus. And I listened to him and got in my truck and drove off. I'm back in Decatur, and I'm maybe a mile and a half from my house. Just I don't know how to describe it, except for the fact that God had drawn me to a point where it was like, let's come with me, or you can keep going down the road you're going down. But at that point, it was His grace was so irresistible. I was like, okay, let's go. And I understood what that meant. And I understood that meant there was going to be radical change. It meant leaving things. It was the gospel. Mm-hmm. And so I made that decision in my truck, didn't think much about it. I had an errand to run for my father. And then it was the next day I noticed something different when I woke up in the morning and had a desire to read God's word. And I'm not a big reader, or baseball player. So yeah. I don't, I wasn't much of a reader, but I remember in the morning waking up thinking, I want to find out what God wants me to do. And I'd heard all the cliches and different things, and was always around people that were Christians or had claimed to be Christians. So I knew some things, but it was personal, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So I woke up, grabbed the Bible, and just opened it up, trying to.
Your Bible, or whose Bible did you grab?
I don't even remember. I think it was my brother's.
Okay.
And I had a question, and and I think it was just a special grace on that area, on that time in my life, where every time I'd have a question, I'd find it in Scripture, even though I didn't know where it was at. God was leading me through there, and I was finding verses. And my first one was, how do I know this book is true? I'm about to base my life off this book. And I need to know that this is true. And I can't even remember. I think maybe it's in Isaiah where it says, I will entrust these things unto my disciples and they will pass them on. I can't remember the exact verse, but that was the verse I bumped into. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I just found the verse I needed to find. And I had other questions and stuff, and I'd find them in Scripture. And all of a sudden I'm realizing this is not just, this is not a religion. God really is alive. Yeah. And it wasn't about just feeling changed. I was changed. There was things that I always wanted to do that I didn't want to do anymore, and vice versa. And I wanted to find a church, but I didn't know what a denomination I was. Still don't really. And but I had to return to school a couple of days after that, and I remember, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4 roommates. And I'm thinking in my mind, things are different. I feel changed. I don't want to live the way I lived before. Something has happened on the inside, and I don't want to go down that road no more. So I'm thinking when I get back, I'm going to tell all my friends this, and they're going to be like, what must we do to be saved? Yeah. Dude, I was sitting in that house by myself within 2 or 3 weeks. One by one started. They probably thought I was crazy, but I ended up finding a church shortly after that and got plugged in, and that really, really helped stabilize my beliefs and gave me a direction to go.
Yeah. And so did you end up graduating from the University of Alabama?
Yes.
Yeah. So you were moving on. So this was happening in your life.
Yeah.
You got saved. You're finding out that okay, this is real.
Yeah.
You're actually reading God's word. Keep walking us through what happened next, man.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said was it. It was the understanding that God is real. As simple as that sounds, it was such a reality at that moment where, for the first time in my life, I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. Like, God really is real. This is not a religion. Yeah. This is not just behavior modification, if you will, but this is, the God of the universe is his spirit is now living in me. And he is, like it says in Ezekiel, I love the verse talks about, he takes your heart of stone out and replaces it with a heart of flesh, causes you to walk in his estatutos. What is that in English? Statue. Is that right? Statues. He causes you to walk in his law. And it's powerful because it's like we're not robots, but the power of God is very real in the way that we're transformed. It's not just something that I decided to do. It's not just something that by my will, but it was by the power of the Holy Spirit. And I'm just like, man, I got to tell people about this because it just blew me away on understanding how real salvation is.
Yeah.
So,
so you got something that's stirring inside your guts and inside your soul. This is 98. You were single at the time. Like what happened next, bro? Like,
well, after I found the church that I was going, started attending and everything and started growing, being discipled by different people in that church and really learning the importance of seeking God every day. And just, not out of being religious about it, but just being in love. Yeah. And that was an aspect I'd never heard about as well, was this personal relationship. You don't pray to be saved. You pray because you are saved. You don't worship to be saved. You worship because you already are, and you're free to just love on God. And so that was kind of what was driving me. And we were, at that time, that particular church was doing these prayer shifts 24 hours a day, three hours at a time. And I would always sign up for the one really early, so I'd be there by myself and just worship and just be in the in the presence of God. And I'm telling you, those times I'll never forget those times because they really, really set a foundation in my life and just something that that was of great value that I like to teach to even this day, that time that you have with God every single day. And
it's disciplined, right?
Yeah.
One thing that struck me is like you don't work to get to God, but I do think, as I'm listening, discipline, work ethic, and a hard work ethic is about disciplining and about restraining yourself to work hard and say no to certain things. And some of those early part of your years, developing discipline and restraint to hold yourself to a certain schedule.
Right.
I think when you're talking about the early mornings, like, yeah, man, it's just being disciplined to say no to certain things and what I need to and how that foundation can be built upon.
Right.
I think that's something. All right. So what happens next, man?
Well, I think we was at that church
Hey, that's a plural pronoun. I thought you were like by yourself, single, bro.
Yeah, I'm so used to talking about my wife. But now that we bring that up, so I was at that church maybe a year and a half, and we got planted. Another church got planted out of that church with Pastor Martin Houston, played football in '92. So I went with him on the strip there in Tuscaloosa, and we started a church, me and several other people.
The strip is all the bars.
Yeah, all the bars. The same bars I was in not too long ago. And we'd go out and hand out tracts and preach on corners and just minister to people. And, I was still, really, really young in the Lord and running into people that I was drinking with just not too long ago.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of good opportunities to witness and stuff like that. And so it was a really, really cool time. But time after time, we'd hand out tracts. You'd get them thrown back in your face. And I learned something. Not that anybody's out of reach, but I did learn, I remember going out and witnessing, and the first person I handed a tract to was a guy that I guess he was studying to be a doctor. And I was asking him about God, and he said, "I am God." And I'm thinking, man, that's insane. And it was just one of those nights where we didn't really get to engage in a lot of conversation. And I walked back behind the bars. And if you remember, there's a lot of housing back there, and these are poor people. Yeah. And so I walked back there, and it was considered dangerous, I guess. Me and some other guys went back there and started talking to. They're dealing drugs right there on the street and stuff, and we're we're handing out tracts, and they received us and invited us in their house and listened. And I'm just thinking, this is totally different from what I just faced out on the strip. So I started really going into inner city ministry because, it was just being received. And we ended up moving out of the house that I had in Northport and living in these projects over in Alberta City. And that was my first missions thing. So we started I started renting an apartment over there and started visiting people in their apartments and doing church services with people that would never step foot in a church. They had been ripped off before. And somewhere in the middle of that, I met my wife. And she was going to that church with that Martin Houston was pastoring. And she started helping me out a lot in the ministry. And it just, one thing led to another. And that we ended up getting married not too long after that.
Yeah.
So.
Did you know I lived back behind the strip?
No, I didn't. I did.
In that yellow brick house?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, I did,
Now
yes.
that you say that,
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
did.
All right, so you meet your wife.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
Well, she was going to the same church that I was going to, and we'd figured out, this is a good thing. But we would, I just graduated. She was about to graduate in engineering, and it's just like two polar opposites. Academically, she's got jobs lined up and everything, and I'm very available. I was going to go into coaching, and
That's well packaged, very available.
yeah.
If you're listening and you're a young guy, that right there is salesmanship right there, par excellence.
yeah. So I was going. My plan was to go into coaching, but now I'm saved. My whole world's been turned upside down, and the only thing I want to do is be in the ministry. I just didn't know what I wanted to do in ministry. So through a friend, went on a missions trip to Mexico, and that was my first, I guess, outside of the United States missions trip, and I was just blown away by valley after valley after valley of just places had no churches. It just blew me away. And so the timing of it, coming out of college, I'm thinking, well, I'm available right now. I want to do this maybe for a year or two. And so after that first trip, went back.
All right, hold up, bro.
Yeah.
You said you met your wife.
Yeah.
Were you married when you went to Mexico on your first mission trip?
No.
Were you engaged at that point?
No.
Okay. So what was that like, trying to balance between, okay, I'm going to Mexico, see some new territory. I also met this girl that I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
And she's at a different place, maybe professionally.
Yeah.
What was that like to sort that out?
Oh, it's crazy because, I'm pretty much thinking I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to be single. And so I had met her, and we started talking and everything, and it was pretty obvious, hey, this might be my wife. So when I proposed to her, it was after, if I remember correctly, my second trip, and she said yes, and she went on a trip with me. The third trip we went was a little bit longer, and she went and saw, and I'm not going to say either one of us really liked it in the flesh.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rough place, but at the same time, she was willing to follow me down there, which was just amazing. I wouldn't recommend that to everybody, but for us at that time, we got married. 3 months later, we're in Mexico at language school. Wow. And we had a whole year, and it was a good thing because language school, you wasn't going out and working in the missions work yet. You were just learning Spanish, and that was our honeymoon there in that first year. So that's kind of
where were you actually in language school?
Monterrey, Mexico.
So you actually were in country doing that. You had an opportunity to learn the new language. At that point, had you ever studied, talked Spanish at all?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So that was a big, big, big step of faith, particularly that. And then I think I've covered it 2 or 3 times. We're not the best of students.
Right.
We don't have a desire to learn.
Yeah.
You had shared that God had placed inside you a desire for his word, but was it difficult for you to consider like learning the language and doing something sort of academically? Like, what was that like? Do you remember that?
I don't remember a whole lot. I do remember my wife helping me a lot.
Yeah.
So, we get there and we're learning the basics of the language, and I'm thinking there's just no way, because I did have Spanish in high school, but I dropped out of it and took something else. And it was God's grace. I really believe if God's called you to do something, He will empower you, enable you to do
Yeah.
it. And it was, to this day, I still struggle on some of it, but we were there 9 months, I think it was. So you're there learning Spanish, learning how to be married, um, and it was a really good time to build a foundation. And after that, we went into the actual work. Was about 6 hours from there, deeper into Mexico, central Mexico,
South from there.
south.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And why did you continue to go south, deeper?
That was where the missions organization that we were working with. That's where they were located.
Gotcha. And
Primarily.
was your family, extended family, supportive of this? Were you guys sort of on your own? Did you have your in-laws? Were they like, what was the family situations about you guys being
Yeah.
freshly married, going in country? Do you remember? Was it good? Was it any tension at all?
Nah, yeah, there was a lot of tension, understandably so. I mean, I understand that now that I'm a grandparent, and so yeah, financially, my dad was helping me out. They were one of the few people that were supporting us at that time. But there was a lot of tension there, coming back and getting a job and doing, what would they say? Coming and being a part of the real world, quit
Yeah.
doing that, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And I think there's also time, like what I'm trying to allude to is, I think sometimes there's this pressure that you go through this process to sort of high school and college and get a degree, get a
Yeah.
profession, be jocked up and ready to go make money, and then like, oh
Yeah.
well, I'm going to go be a missionary, and I'm not going to nearly get paid
Right.
as much income
Right.
as I could, right? And I think
Mhm.
sometimes there's like, well, why then? Why did you invest that time and effort and
Yeah.
all those resources and so forth? Just to then not get money.
Right. And
Yeah.
and my dad, who was a little upset with us because he was basically going to give us his machine job. And that now that I married a mechanical engineer, you can, he's really wanting
Yeah,
to
he
give us
is.
some-
Yeah,
So
he is.
he thought, at first it was kind of a waste, but he was, overall, him and my mom, they were supportive. There was some obvious tension there, especially those first couple of years, because those days you couldn't video chat, you couldn't
Yeah.
do any of that. They might get a phone call once a month.
Yeah.
So we had just disappeared into central Mexico, and it was, it's a big step for everybody.
What year was this?
2000.
2000. So now it's 26. We're 26 years later. There's a lot of 26 years
Yeah.
to sort of cover, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have a subsequent episode. We're going to bring your sons on,
Sure.
and we're going to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what the current life looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're going to have time to cover the 26 years leading up to that conversation. But just real quickly, for the listeners, like in 26 years, over that period of time,
Yeah.
give a couple things of what you've learned as a man, right? Serving God in
Right.
central Mexico as a Christian missionary.
Yeah. I'll allude even back further, during the baseball years of being taught how to persevere. I've leaned on that so many times, wanted to quit, and then think back on those days as it sounds a little odd being a game, baseball being a game, but it was so much more than that at the time that you were taught a mentality, you were taught an attitude, you were taught how to persevere. So every time, on the mission field, I'd come up on, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I would always think back to that. And that kept us on the mission field so many times. It was one of the biggest lessons of my life was how to persevere. So there was probably 2 or 3 times, especially those first 5 or 6 years, you just really wanted to quit. But quitting, was not an option, and that was kind of what you were taught by your mentors or people that you respected. So I think people nowadays give up too quick. Give up. It's too easy to quit, I guess is what you would say. So,
Yeah.
that was one of the bigger things that I remember, especially those first 5 or 6 years when it was really, really hard and we were going through a lot of different transitions and stuff. Was how we didn't quit, and that started way back with my dad, Coach Booth, Coach Wells.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't we just take a brief minute right quick? I want to ask a couple questions a little bit about maybe I was going to use the word difference. Maybe that's
Yeah.
not the most appropriate word to use, but persevering
Mhm.
and believing and conviction
Right.
and hope and being assured that, oh, God is real. I believe what's going on here. I
Mhm.
believe what he says. I believe in my mission. Talk to us a little bit about how you as a Christian and a believer of Jesus, how do you get through when you face adversity and you don't just want to persevere for yourself,
Yeah.
but you want to believe God and trust God that his outcome might be at hand?
Right. Are you talking about in terms of like the gospel,
I'm
the
thinking just as a Christian man, I'm just
yeah,
trying to think like, hey, listen, I think there's a lot of listeners that are going to be listening to your
right.
story that might not be in Mexico, but they might want to quit.
Ah,
They
yeah,
might want to not um, implement biblical truths in their life because they
right.
don't see a good outcome,
Yeah.
right? And as you were talking about your baseball experience, you might not have been a starter, but
Mhm.
now 26 years later, you're talking about how God placed you in that environment.
Yeah.
You tried to quit. He supernaturally didn't let your parents answer the telephone,
Right.
and you continued to have. You were developed in this setting, and now 26 years later, you're still using some of those things, right?
Mhm.
God had a plan for you. You didn't see what was at hand.
Right.
Somebody, some listener, some viewer right now, they may want to quit because they might not be trusting God that there is hope, right?
Right.
That he has their best interest at hand and
Mhm.
so forth. You want to speak a little bit about to the listener, like, hey, man, keep persevering because these truths.
Right. Well, I'll give you a little bit of an illustration. I know down in Mexico, especially up in the mountains, sometimes it can get really, really foggy and you can't see 10 foot in front of you, your truck. Um, so what you got to do is you got to slow down. You got to pay attention to what's right in front of you. You're still going to get there, but you can only see a little bit in front of you. And I would, anybody that's listening to this and you get caught up in the future, where this is going. Um, of course, that's a natural way to be, but at the same time, walking by faith, sometimes He only lets you see
Yeah, that's good.
just a little bit ahead of you,
That's good.
and to focus on that next step more than anything, and to persevere. It's day to day. I know on the mission field, keeping the message. This is going to be more geared toward ministers, but really sitting down and thinking about the eternal weight of what you're doing. If there is a heaven and if there is a hell, what other job can be more important than you bringing the gospel to these people, taking the gospel to these people? So, that once you start thinking of the eternality of your ministry and what you're doing, your problems that you're going through kind of shrink. My me being upset, on kind of some inconveniences, it just kind of shrinks down when I think, hey, God's given me the opportunity to take this message, this eternal message of life to people. He's letting me do that, and keeping the perspective on the eternal message of the gospel really has helped me over the years.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So Hope Ministries, INTL.com is where you can
Hmm.
support Brandon. You can buy his coffee. You can find him. If you have any questions or want to speak to him anymore, you want to, reach out to him
Hmm.
directly, you can reach out to us. You can find us here at Marks of a Man podcast, Men Build Men. And this will sort of conclude this episode and then look for a subsequent episode with his sons.